Hey, what's up, everybody?
Yo,
Podcast time. Nice hat.
thanks. You too.
Twinsies.
Hey, we're the first two to get them.
Yeah.
Quick
You were
church
the first.
plug.
You were the first. I
That's
was the
because
second.
you weren't around when they got there, and your wife got them out of the box, and I was literally right there.
Yeah. She said, "Do you want one of these?" And I was like, "Absolutely."
They're really comfortable.
Yeah. I like the square patch. It's different.
Yeah, me too.
I love church merch that looks good.
I love church merch that looks good as well that I can wear.
Casually.
Casual.
Casually. Yeah. Haley had on a shirt the other day. I used it as an example in leadership meeting. She had a shirt the other day that said, "Revival is
Here. It's the Winterfest.
is
shirt.
coming," and then it had
Crossed
"coming"
out.
scratched out, and it
Yeah.
said "here" over it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I love that shirt.
Yeah.
And that's what she told me. She said it's a Winterfest shirt, which Rob Bailey's an absolute genius. Rob, I love you. You're amazing at merch and promotional stuff. That is one of Rob's many fortes. He's got a lot of
When he was in South Carolina, our youth department merch was the best it's ever been.
incredible.
yeah.
Those
Absolutely
shirts,
incredible.
Those old youth camp shirts were fire.
So good, yeah.
Yeah, so
Shout out.
whenever he finishes in ministry, he should probably go into designing a clothing line.
I think that would be really, really cool.
Rob,
Great career choice.
if you need Saki to be a marketing whiz for you as you are selling your promotional line, let me know. I'll be happy to come do a guest
it.
appearance. No worries, I'm good.
It's on lock.
Hello, everybody.
That's incredible.
Oh,
Saki.
Pastor Simeon is our worship pastor here. Apologize. I always try to apologize because I always try to call you Pastor Simeon in public, although you are, Simeon to me in private. For me, there's a lot of different reasons for that, but for me, I consider you a friend. I consider you a partner in ministry, but at the same time, when we're in public, I want to make sure that I'm honoring your role and letting people see me honor your role so that they in turn will then honor your role. Because when you came here, you were very young.
I was 22.
22 when you came here. So it was very difficult for people to see you as a figure needing honor.
Yeah, 100%.
It was awkward.
I wasn't.
You weren't. You're right. Right. You definitely weren't a figure deserving of honor. And so it's this weird line of trying to grow you into that, but along the journey, making sure that I'm referencing you at a place of honor so that people give you honor. So as we go through this podcast, if at any point I call him Simeon, it's not from a place of disrespect. It's from a place of partnership and friendship and life and what we do together. So,
That goes for me too.
That goes for you
I'm
as
gonna
well.
call you Simeon, probably. That's because we're family.
Well,
That's my little brother.
make sure that whenever you're in public, you call him Pastor Simeon.
I call him.
He does a good job.
And that's weird. So let's talk through that.
Yeah.
Because I think this is really interesting because honor isn't a culture that we had when you first got here.
Yeah.
Even to me, it wasn't like, oh, there's Pastor Jamie or there goes the bishop or whatever it is that, and as the church has grown and, we've tried our best, we've swung the pendulum too far at times.
Yeah, for
to
sure.
where, you've tried to give everybody roles of honor.
Yeah.
And then we've swung the pendulum back too far to where everybody's just familiar with each other and there's no place of honor. So let's talk honor just for a quick second. Then we're going to get into some worship stuff, but let's talk honor just for a quick second. You grew up in a place where your dad obviously taught you honor because that's something that you knew and did very well here.
Yeah.
Speak your heart on honor, not specifically about me, but just in general, like in the church culture.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up traveling ministry, and just the way my dad was, like my dad always honored the people that were the pastors of the house that we went to. He always, the first time he got up at a church to speak or whatever, he would always say something to the effect of, "Hey, I just want to say I appreciate your pastor. And whatever he says goes. If I say anything contrary to what he feels is
I love
biblical
that.
and right. Like when I get done, he's gonna come up here and he can correct what I've said. But my dad lived that out. Like that's who he was. He always walked in that. Even his family, like in his family, like he always honored his old. He was the youngest of 9 kids. He always honored his older siblings, and just that. It's Father's Day, and I always get emotional on Father's Day. Even in prayer this morning, I was really emotional because I think now at 31, I'm more thankful for my dad than I ever have been before. And the way he truly led me, like, and represented everything that he wanted me to be. Like he wasn't perfect, but I look back now and I'm like so thankful for the man that he lived his life out to be. Because like you preached yesterday, there's so many things that my dad didn't tell me. He did these things, and now it's like just a part of me. Yeah. Like it's so uncomfortable for me when somebody calls you pastor, not because you've asked me to call you pastor, but because it's awkward when somebody doesn't call you pastor, because it's awkward for me. Like I don't know that there's been any moment in time, even when I first got here, that I didn't refer to you as Pastor Jamie, because that's who you are. And it allows you to be that voice. When somebody honors you in that way, it allows you to speak into them in a pastoral way. If somebody doesn't honor you in that way, you'll never be their pastor.
It's so good. Vic Polero, he was with us for 9 months or so here on staff, and he was very particular about honor and very passionate about it, and came from a church where honor was the thing. And he said something very similar, and I'd never understood it or contemplated it prior to him being here, but he said, when you call him Jamie and he preaches, you get a Jamie word. You get the same thing that a friend could speak into your life. Yeah. But when you give him the role of pastor in your life, or or bishop or apostle or whatever, prophet or whatever word you attach to someone in your life, speaking that word into you, when you give them that voice in your life, then you get a gift from God type word into you, 100%. Rather than, hey, we're just buddies, let me speak this into your life. Yeah. And it completely changed my thought process on even, because for me, it's awkward saying to somebody, hey, call me Pastor Jamie. That's just super, super awkward. So for me, it's one of those things where I've never done that or had those conversations. It's just been, as people have grown in this ministry, they have grown in that understanding. And honestly, Jarrett, one day we were at a softball game, and somebody referenced me as Jamie. And Jarrett grew up under, I've known Jarrett since he was, 10, 12 years old. And somebody referenced me as Jamie. And if anybody has he's probably one of 10 people here that if they had the reason to reference me as Jamie, it would be, because of him. He's known me that long. He probably, could or whatever. But he, whenever they did, he just kind of pulled him over to the side and said, hey, well, what did you call him? And had this really great conversation that wasn't prompted by anyone else. It was just Jarrett having a conversation and helping them understand, hey, if that guy's just Jamie, and again, this isn't just Jamie. This is for every pastor everywhere. Yeah. This is pastors that are watching this that don't have a pastor in their life. Yeah. There's a reason why whenever my overseer calls me, I call him Bishop. Yeah. 100%. Hey, Bishop, how are you today? What, He is my bishop. He is the leader that God has entrusted over me in this season of my life. When Brother Jacobs calls me as my district overseer, I reference him as the bishop of the district. Hey, Bishop, what can I do for you? What is it that, because I want to honor their role in my life. And so even some of you pastors that are watching this, or some of you lay ministers that are watching this, and you're like, I don't understand the whole everybody's a pastor, or what does this role mean? What does this role mean? I would just encourage you that when you're doing that, you're speaking life into their ability to speak into your life. Yeah. So anyways, just some side conversation that has nothing to do with the reason we're coming together today.
Not at all.
It's all good.
Okay. So you preached probably 4 years ago.
Yeah. It's been a while.
Yeah. You want to do it again sometime?
Sure.
He did it last year.
Was it last year?
No,
Oh, we did when I was on vacation
yeah.
when we went to Montana.
The week before.
Yep, the week before
well,
y'all
the
left to
Sunday
go.
we left. I preached that Sunday.
We were in the Dakotas.
We watched
He
them online.
preached.
Yeah.
Yep, that's
but
true.
I know what you're about to talk about.
Yeah,
so, yeah. That was like probably 4 years.
4 years ago, where you talked about. I always say 47 because that's your famous.
It's 57.
Because that's your famous number that you always.
It's my
go
favorite
to.
number. Yeah.
So you wear number 47 on the softball field for no real reason. If people are like, hey, what's the reason you love 47?
We won't talk about
it's
it right
super
now.
random though. It's not like a.
It was because of a video I watched on YouTube that made me laugh. Like I cried laughing at it.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So no real reason why 47 is your favorite number, but
No.
anyways, I always say 47 here, but it is actually 57.
Yeah. It's 57.
57 different biblical ways to worship.
Yep. There's
Go,
57.
all 57 right now.
I can't do that.
How many can you name? Like let's name all some. Like clap your hands. That's a way to worship God.
I don't remember the word for.
You don't have to go through the words.
I had them all in my notes for a long time, and I got a new phone, and they all went away.
So just some
halal is one that is a really funny one. It's to laugh or to worship God with a hilarious praise,
crazy praise.
Yeah,
right,
crazy praise
is what I've always heard it praised as.
Shabach is one,
Which is
the shout. That's the shout. Yeah. There's so many different ones.
I went through those 7 that are more corporate type praises.
Yeah.
I went through those 4 months ago or 5 months ago.
Yeah, not too
we
long
had
ago.
we had a great, kind of conversation through those. But even inside of breaking those down even more, from clapping to raising your hands to falling on your face to things of that nature, just throw out some. It doesn't have to be the word, but throw out some ways biblically to praise God.
Yeah, I mean, there's to bow, to lay before the
Barak.
Lord.
I've got the list pulled up. Barak is to kneel or to bow
kneel.
down.
Yeah,
These are the 7 corporate
Yeah,
ones.
these are the separate. Barak, to kneel, to bless God, to bow down. Halal, to be clear, to shine, to boast, to show, to rave, to celebrate, to be
Celebrate.
Clamorously foolish. Shabach is to shout louder. Tehillah, to sing praises.
Tehillah
of
praise.
Spirit spontaneously. Toda, sure.
Toda.
Extending hands, acting out in thanksgiving. Yada, extending the hands vigorously. So depending on where your hands are. And then Zamar, to touch the strings, to make music with instruments.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's the 7 corporate
worship styles in the Bible. And there's tons of corporate ways to worship, but those are 7 biblical ways that we see when people
we see almost weekly acted out in the church.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially in the Pentecostal church. But even apart from that, you have laying before the Lord, you have lifting your hands, you have singing unto the Lord, you have certain praises or worship styles.
There's even a whole grouping of words. All these words come from biblical instances that talk about worship, and they are all different Hebrew, Greek, Latin root words for worship that all mean 57 different things. And so there's so many instances where God's talking or people in the Bible are talking about worship that are not even about actions, but heart posture.
Yeah.
And, a yielding or a surrendering to the Lord that we don't necessarily talk about or consider worship, because we talk about worship being when we come together and sing.
Because sometimes you can not have the right heart posture and do action postures of worship without the right heart posture, and I don't know that that's what God is looking for in our worship.
Yeah, I mean, the Bible talks about they that worship Him in spirit and truth, and that's what He's looking for, And so, to me, there's a lot of different aspects to that. It's not just this and this. There is a truth that we can all encounter. God's good. He's incredible. He's above all. He's to be exalted. But there's a lot of spiritual truths that we don't necessarily attach to our worship on a Sunday morning. That's kind of like something that me and you talked about a few days ago about, how our worship needs to be attached to Scripture. How songs that
what was that song? Praise opens prison doors.
Yeah.
And you were just talking about how the theology behind it was so sound.
Yeah, it's so. I mean, it talks about Paul and Silas in the jail.
Yeah.
Like their literal praise opened up the whole prison.
Yep.
And it was.
It's Acts chapter 16 and verse 25.
Yeah.
You know how I know that?
There's a song.
Fred Hammond,
Fred
son.
Hammond. Yeah.
And he brought his, I don't know her. I've never seen the actual video. It was a live recording. So I'm sure in my head,
It's
what
out
I've
there
always
somewhere.
seen her as was this little old black lady.
Mm-hmm.
And she say, Acts chapter 16 and verse 25. The Bible says that and at midnight, Paul
She
and
sounds like
Silas
Shirley
prayed. And she does. Yeah, she does.
I don't think it was her, but she sounds like
And
her.
then Fred gets up there and he says, what she's trying to say for all you prim and proper folks is, late in the midnight hour, bump, bump, God's gonna turn it around. So good. So good. Fred Hammond. Let me just say, Fred, you're probably never gonna watch this, but if you do, somebody send this clip to Fred and let him know. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for your impact in my life. Thank you for your influence in Christian music. Thank you for leading worship before leading worship was cool. Thank you for making an impact in the world. And I know you probably got celebrated a lot in 2000, but probably don't get celebrated nearly enough now in this season of your life. But I just want to say thank you, man. I wouldn't be in this season of my life if it weren't for you, Fred.
Yeah. So good.
Thank you. Thank
He's
you
a
for all you
legend.
did.
One of the GOATs.
He
sure.
is one of the go. If for me now, let's do this. Mount Rushmore of worship.
Oh Lord.
Mount Rushmore of worship. Okay, so for me, it's kind of like when you do like a Mount Rushmore of sports.
Yeah.
You always have
A generation-defining player.
Yeah, and you always have somebody who everybody's going to disagree with.
Yeah.
Like if somebody like it's hard to deny that Tiger Woods is the greatest golfer of all time.
Yeah.
But then somebody's going to say, well, is Tiger Woods an athlete? You know, and then you have those back and forth. So, right, you know, so Michael Phelps, you know, but Michael Phelps just had, you know, every 4 years to train, you know, things of that nature. And so you have Serena Williams, who is, you know, the greatest tennis player ever. Michael Jordan, there's nobody ever been even close to him in basketball. And so and so you have some of those people that people will be able to. So even in worship, the Mount Rushmore of worship, there's going to be people like that people are going to disagree with. And there's going to be some people that have had huge influences on your life that probably haven't had them on mine. But like there's a person like Chris Tomlin that to me, as much as he may not be your style of music, to me, Mount Rushmores of worship, Chris Tomlin is probably on there.
Agree. If we're just talking about worship, I would say Israel Houghton.
Israel for sure.
Chris Tomlin. Oh man.
You gotta throw an oldie in there.
Darlene Check.
Shout to the Lord, all the earth, let us sing. Oh!
Yeah, one that probably is not a very popular one.
Okay.
Is the guy from Hillsong, I can't remember his name right now. Brian Houston's son. Like he was the push that made Hillsong United, the songs that really kind of ministered to me the most when I was a teenager. I mean, like he literally helped write every single song that Hillsong's put out since the Darlene Check days, you know.
Oh, I was about to say that dude is what's his name? Not Brian Houston. Brian Houston is the pastor.
Morgan?
No.
I
Something
can't think of
Houston.
Reuben Morgan replaced Darlene Check in 2008. Originally alongside Marty Sampson. This is a list of Hillsong worship leaders. Taya Smith, Reuben Morgan, Joel Houston.
Joel
Houston. There it is, Joel. Joel.
Yep.
I'm starting to run out of options here on this list.
So there's people like Stephen Curtis Chapman, but he's not really a worship leader to me.
Yeah, he's more of a Christian artist.
He is a GOAT, but he's not really a worship leader. Hezekiah Walker, you know, people like that were just extremely influential in seasons of their life.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, for me, Lyndall Cooley was.
Yeah. I mean, to me, I think Lyndall Cooley should be on the list just because of he was kind of a game changer for worship.
He was a game changer.
Yeah. he didn't really have like the lasting impact as far as like writing songs and a bunch of stuff, but he was kind of like the turning point for music. One of the reasons that music kind of made the shift to more of a like a rock, like driven, feel.
It's pretty cool that Chris Tomlin is coming to lead worship here in a few months, and he is on the Mount Rushmore of.
So get your tickets.
On the Mount Rushmore of worship leaders ever.
Yeah. Yep, I agree.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, be even cooler if we got
Chris Tomlin, Darlene Check.
Yep.
Israel Houghton.
Israel.
Is it Joel?
No, we got Darlene. You can't have Joel and Darlene.
Yeah.
And
I'm trying to think. I mean, I would personally love to put this person on there.
Okay,
even though I don't necessarily think. No, I'm not even gonna say this. Kirk Franklin. I think Kirk Franklin needs to be on there.
He's a generation.
Because
for those of you that think the gospel music is going too far.
When I was a kid, I literally
we
listened.
Too radical without purpose.
He was the man.
Kurt was the man. GP. Lately, I've been going through something that's really
Do you want a revolution?
Whoop, whoop. I love
Good
me some
times.
Kurt Franklin.
Yeah.
I love me some Fred Hammond. Huge fan of Alvin Slaughter back in the day. He was very impressive. I was a big fan of big choirs back in the day.
Brooklyn Tab.
All the Brooklyn Tab stuff. I was a big fan of those sorts of things. So anyways.
You could fight for this one.
Okay.
To me.
Fight for it.
I honestly think that this person has helped maintain a part of worship that the modern church has pushed past, but he still has made it great.
Okay.
Bill Gaither.
Man, Bill Gaither.
He wrote Because He Lives. And to me, like, they've helped maintain a group of worshipers in the Southern gospel community that otherwise would have died, not literally, but I think it would be, to me, it would be awesome to have him up there.
Yeah, I agree. That's a tough list to be. I was jamming out to some Kirk Franklin in the Chick-fil-A drive-thru the other day.
Yeah.
There are some that, as I'm looking through the list now, that I think, man, like they have Michael W. Smith down here as a worship leader.
Oh, man, yeah. I can totally see that.
The Michael W. Smith is on the list.
I mean, 90s?
Yeah.
Like, he was the king.
Yeah, that's hard to leave him off.
Yeah.
So Ben will have a few that he loves and wants to put on the list, but
yeah.
So, anyways, I love worship. I'm a worshiper. You posted a picture. I don't even know where they got that picture from. I'm assuming I was worshiping at camp meeting.
Yeah,
I was on the third row.
Yeah.
I was on the third row. You were leading worship, and I'm worshiping with you. I'm a worshiper. It is a part of my DNA. I love to worship. I walk around the house worshiping. Y'all are in practice, and I'm worshiping in practice. Like for me, worship isn't something that you do because the crowd's there and hyping into it. I'm all by myself this morning, and worship music's playing, and I'm walking around the sanctuary all by myself 100%. Worshiping. So I'm a worshiper. I love to worship. Have you always been a worshiper?
Yeah.
Just kind of ingrained in you.
It was definitely ingrained in me. I mean, my mom and dad tell stories about me growing up. And they would, when they were still at Swaggart's, so I'd be in a little, what do you call those things? In the little
bouncy seat, like walker.
Yeah, like a
car seat.
Car seat. Yeah,
okay.
That's the word I was looking for. But in like a little carry car seat, just sat me underneath the piano while my mom's playing the piano for worship and for practice and stuff, and just grew up, and it was like constantly around, and I always saw. My parents, my extended family was all very worshipful, and it was just always the music aspect of worship was what I was around.
Yeah. Okay, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Okay. I've always been a worshiper.
Yeah.
So even from the start of our church, I've always worshiped.
Yeah.
You came here, our church wasn't very worshipy.
Yeah.
We had moments, but it wasn't like
Yeah.
you've always said you wanted to create a worship culture here.
Yeah.
It's kind of been one of your catchphrases through the
Yeah.
years. So somebody's watching here online, they're saying, "Man, I wish my church had I visited y'all last summer and I wish our church had a worship culture here."
Yeah.
Let's do 2 or 3 quick nuggets for somebody watching on how to cultivate or how to build a worship culture inside of their church.
I say this always, anytime I talk to worship leaders or anything like that. And I've said this to you, and I say this to our team, that you are the worship leader of our church. Like, we are on stage, but even if you're not here, worship is just different.
Mm-hmm.
You know, now it's not as different as it used to be when you weren't here, but you are the one who leads the way in how our church responds to corporate worship. And thankfully, we've gotten to a place to where now it's a lot easier for people to kind of go in, you know.
So if you're a pastor watching this,
you've
you
got
want
to
your church
embody
to
it.
you want your church to worship. You got to worship.
You got to be, obvious with it and lead the way. That is, like, to me, that is number one on the priority list. Because if you're not, as a pastor, if you're not leading the way in that, then like, how can you expect somebody else to lead the way if you're the visionary, if you're the person who's setting the example for the house? Like you said yesterday with tithing, like, how could you expect people to tithe if you don't tithe?
Yeah, for sure.
It's the same thing for me with worship. Like, if you're not a worshiper, how do you expect me to lead your church? This is your church that you hired me to come to. How do you expect me to lead them up to a place that you're not willing to take them?
Yeah, I always struggled with the pastor who was sitting there and reading over their notes before getting up on the stage. Or I guess I always struggle with the word stage as well. I always say the word stage because we're in a huge, previously a theater that it was a stage. So I say stage because it is a stage. But I don't want it to sound like stage means we're performing up on a stage.
Yeah.
But I struggle with people who are, even sometimes, some of the churches you go to where the pastor sits up on the stage or up on the platform with the worship team and, just sitting there reading through their Bible or, making notes. There are times where I pull out my Bible because God is stirring something in me and I need to jot down a note, but it has nothing to do with, trying to make sure I'm prepared for the moment. It's so anyways, I always struggle with that because for me, I felt like I want to be, in the moment with the rest of the church and the rest of the team worshiping.
Yeah, agree. I think that's the big one for me, is that pastors have to lead the way. And the other, this is so like, it may even seem hypocritical, but it's a part of us as performers, as people who are musicians and singers, who are a sensitive group of people, that, it's not about the response from the congregation. And if we can ever get past that and just worship in spite of the response, maybe one day the response will come.
Yeah.
Because for I won't say for years, but for when I first came, it was hard to lead worship.
Yeah.
It was not easy. Now it's fun.
Yeah.
I
I check my phone not to be disrespectful, but just so people know, and they're like, I can't believe he's talking and he's checking his phone.
No.
I'm checking it because Caleb sent us questions earlier, and so I'm trying to make sure that I'm leading us into the next question.
Sure.
Unless Caleb wants to lead us into the next question, and I think probably the one, I know we've been on here a while and we kind of went to honor, but I think one that I would love to kind of end with is just the thought process of worship as a spiritual growth
Mechanism.
Is that the right word?
I think so.
I was gonna say mechanism, but I wasn't really sure how that fit there. But yeah,
Yeah.
worship as a tool or a fertilizer
Something
for
that
spiritual
drives
growth.
spiritual growth, which would be a mechanism. Something that drives
okay.
something.
Yeah.
So worship has definitely, for me, helped to grow me spiritually. I use worship in prayer. I use worship in, I use worship in so many different areas of my life. My son all my kids, but Caleb is obviously behind the mic. So he has a playlist. How long's your playlist now?
There's 3 different ones.
How long's the long one?
The long one was 26 hours, 37 minutes.
26 hours. So full day worth of worship.
Yeah.
And every night, Caleb turns on his worship music. And we went last week to camp meeting and stayed in the same room. And one morning I woke up at 4 because as long as I can go to bed, I'm good. I sleep really hard. But if I ever wake up, Caleb has his music playing.
Yeah.
And I wake up at, I don't know, 4:15, 4:30. And I can't go back to sleep because I'm singing the songs that are playing. And I'm over there worshiping. And finally I just got up. I was like, I can't do this. I got up and went downstairs. But he sleeps all night long. And with worship music playing, he drives. You see him.
The lyrics while
He knows all the lyrics to everything. And driving in the car, he doesn't he doesn't know, like, turn the volume down. It's turn the volume wide open. And let's jam out to worship music.
Cranked.
Yeah,
Goodness of God.
let's jam out to worship music. Carson and Cammie are the same way. They that is a part of their life, part of our culture. In our family is worshiping together. Obviously in church, my prayer time is something that I live out and something that I practice. But spiritual growth, less as a job and as a Sunday thing that we do together corporately. Spiritual growth worship as a spiritual growth mechanism, not just corporate worship, but in your personal life.
Yeah.
Like, talk through that. Like give us some thoughts of, like, some encouragement, maybe even people who are trying to grow spiritually, because it's tough to grow spiritually, man. It ain't easy. You got to fight for it. And worship's one of those arrows in your quiver.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for me, I think it's interesting for me because I almost as a spiritual growth mechanism at one point in my life, and this is something that I've almost had to repent for, worship was my only spiritual
discipline.
Discipline. And it was almost God to me, and so for me, like, I had to almost swing the other way to where I had to put my music down and
That's good,
get
man.
in the Word,
That's
and
good.
get in prayer without music going.
Yeah.
And now, like, I'm at a totally different place, but for me, it is, especially some of the worship music that's out now, as an additive to prayer and your Bible, which is the guide. If you're able to do all those things, to me, it is a powerful combination of encountering God through His Word, encountering God through, to me, an important part of prayer is not talking, is listening, is stop giving God this list of things that I need and allow Him to speak back to me. Sometimes that's me sitting down with the Word and praying and asking God to speak to me in His Word, very
and sometimes
directly.
songs speak to you.
100%. I've had movies speak to me, but there's got to be an openness to the Lord to be able to hear His voice, And a part of that is knowing His Word and being able to recognize His voice because you know the Word,
I'd say for those of you who worship is a growth mechanism, just be aware that those songs can't become theology if they're not theologically accurate.
100%.
So you have to make sure that you are wise in, does this actually line up with the Word of God?
Yeah.
Or are they just trying to make lyrics rhyme, you know? And
exactly.
And And
there's a lot of great artists that do a great job of
for
putting
sure.
things together that
The
are
majority of them.
Yeah.
The majority of them. I don't care about their personal theology.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter to me what they personally believe. It's the song that I'm singing. What is the song that I'm singing? What's the theology there inside of that song?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, a sinner, in jail for murder who hates the Lord can write a beautiful, theologically correct song that God can anoint and use and change the world with. So, just my perspective. But we'll end with this story. The worship can definitely speak to you. The very first time, maybe 2 years ago now, June-ish of 2021. I don't know. I can't remember. My dates are all kind of messed up. But we came here and visited the church for the first time. It was a Monday. Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
You know exactly what I'm about to say.
I know exactly what you're
Came to visit church for the first time, this new building, and thought it was so overwhelming. When we came, we were like, all right, well, let's check it out. Let's see what happens. There was about maybe 8 of us that came.
Yeah, it was very few.
Very few came, visited, walked around, went in what we thought was every little cubby hole. And we kind of sat around in my office afterwards and said, hey,
Dreamed a little bit. Yeah.
what can this be? And blown away at what God has done here in this short 2 years. But we walk out of it was a Monday. We walk out of my office and we go into Monday night prayer. And people are already praying, music's already going, and as soon as you and I walk in, what was the song that I was singing?
I can't stay here.
It literally was. And you and I looked at each other, we did this.
I got chills, like,
we were
for
like,
real.
Okay, Lord,
Yeah.
I can't stay here anymore.
Yeah.
I gotta go.
Yeah.
And it was like the Lord just kind of
So clear, man. It was intangible what I felt in that moment.
Same.
I'll never forget that for the rest of my life. It was so impactful.
I'm glad it's on a podcast so that I never forget it for the rest of my life, because the older you get, you start forgetting things.
Yeah.
But anyways, thank you for hanging out with us. Thank you for spending a little time talking about honor and worship. And
love y'all.
Bebo, what's your hat on today? Is this Lehigh Valley again?
Oh, are you okay? You got water
That's
on
Caleb.
now.
That's Caleb for you.
It is Hispanic Heritage Night for a minor league team.
What minor league team?
I forgot. I got two.
Not
different-
Lehigh Valley though.
No.
Okay.
That
Find out
is
where
really
this one's
cool.
from.
Give me 2 seconds. It's on my New Era email.
New Era email. Look at that. We on the email list for New Era, son.
The
Anyways,
Hillsboro Hops.
Hillsboro. Where's Hillsboro at? Sounds like Virginia.
Probably.
I feel like that's Virginia.
Hillsboro County, North Carolina.
North Carolina. I was wrong.
Or Florida or New Hampshire.
Oh, we'll go with New Hampshire. This is Hillsboro in New Hampshire. That's where that one's from.
It's got a
They don't play
a Yodi on
Yodi
the front
on
of
it. Little coyote. Shoot that thing. Shoot him.
Hillsboro, Ohio.
Ohio.
Is that?
Man,
Because
would've
there's
never
4
guessed
ways
that.
to spell it, and that's
Would have
those.
never guessed it. Anyways, thanks for spending some time with us.
Yeah.
Worship.
Drop your Mount Rushmore.
Let's hear it. Drop your Mount Rushmore of worship leaders in the comment section. I'd love to follow up and hear those from people.
See the shop
gotta have
Sunday
4,
for some
right?
of those new hats.
Yeah, get some new hats.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4 on Mount Rushmore.
There's only a limited supply of these hats, so
Get them because
Yeah,
they're
Get them
sick.
while they're hot. Yep. Anyways, thank y'all. Peace.
peace.
Let's go.